Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Monday Momentum where I share a good word with you to start your week off right. Today, we're going to talk about why sharing your story matters. Listen, we all get into a moment in space where our stories could literally be the pathway to somebody else's success. As leaders and people who I'm working with, students, college students, high school students, I really believe in your leadership. I really believe that you are going to be the generation that will change the world. But in order to change the world, we first got to be able to change our own lives. Sometimes we got to reframe how we look at our own life so that we can see that our stories, our journeys, our hardships are literally gifted to us so that we can be the answer to somebody else's prayers. Like, raise your hand if you've ever dealt with some real hardships in your life. I have as well. One of the things that I've learned over this journey of being a professional speaker for 8 years, I really never shared my story. I didn't think people cared. I didn't think people want to hear about my hardships. I actually thought that sharing my stories was a weakness. I thought that sharing my hardships was going to make people not want to be around me. And what I learned was essentially I was putting a facade together of what of putting together a facade of actually having things together. My confidence really overshadowed my competence. I didn't actually know a lot of times what I was really supposed to do, but instead of asking a question, instead of being vulnerable, instead of saying I'm not sure, instead of saying I don't understand, I just acted like I knew. And I did that for years. So much so that people didn't even realize that I even went through hardships. Like when I start telling people, I've seen domestic violence as a child. I remember as early as 7 or 8 years old. People are like, what? I remember I remember experiencing divorce, right, between my parents. And that impacted me. But I never talked about that. I remember my brother being murdered and not telling anybody or not sharing anybody about that because I thought, well, everybody else got their own hard stuff going on. So they probably experienced something like this too. Not realizing like that is not normal. And so I walked through life for a long time, not leaning on the people who I needed to. And so for you, right, whatever your story is, what I need you to know is first that healing is critical. Like, before you start sharing your story, I need you to know that I've been in therapy now for 6 years. Been consistently with one therapist now for 4 years. And when I tell you the healing that I've been on, the healing journey that I've been on, the things that I can glean from the things that I've learned from my hardship. So like when I talk about my brother passing away, one of the things I need people to know is that I realized that didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Because my brother was one of the only people that I really looked up to at that time. And as he grew older and got more involved in the street life, and as he got more popular and he had all the nice things, he had all the nice clothes, I found myself being like, I want that too. And if he was still alive, I probably would have followed his footsteps. Which then begs the question is, if I was there, would that have been me instead of him? Like sometimes we don't realize how much people sacrifice for us to be where we are. How much people go through hardships for us to have the opportunities that we have. Like I didn't realize that although it was tragic, my brother was sacrificed. So I can have the future that I have, so that I can be a father in the home, so I can be able to have spoken to over 160,000 people in 20 states and 3 countries, so that I can be a husband, right? So that I can be a faculty member, so that I can be a doctor, so that I can have my practice with folks like you. And so healing, before you start telling your journey, before you start telling your story, healing is critical. And so don't be afraid to talk with somebody that's a professional, because they're trained at helping people like you. And also, what we don't want to do is we don't want to put our hurt, our pain on other people when we share our story. And so one of the most important things that you got to do when you do get to a point where you feel like you're comfortable enough to share your hardships, I need you to share your learning lessons. And so I think, again, one of the things that I can talk about very confidently is having an absent father, or having a father that wasn't necessarily around as much as one would say, was not in the home. My father struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse for a long time. I remember one of the earliest memories of my teenage life was walking to a basketball tournament and seeing my dad standing in front of a homeless shelter, and shocked, confused, embarrassed, because I was with friends, not really knowing what am I supposed to make meaning out of this? Like, my father is literally homeless. Like, I couldn't understand it at the time, what it was trying to teach me. But what it really was teaching me was that we all have life choices. And although one can say that you can just get off the drugs and alcohol and just leave it alone and just move on, right? And put the focus in on your family. What that moment taught me was that alcoholism and drug abuse is not just a quick decision. Like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do these drugs. Now I want to be an addict. And now that I'm an addict, now I want to be homeless. Like, at first I thought that, right? As an immature young teenager, only thinking about, like, my dad don't want me. Clearly he don't want me, because he's always drunk when I'm around. Clearly he don't care about me. He don't want to be a father to me. That was immature. Now the meaning deeper meaning that I have for addiction, the deeper understanding that I have for drug abuse, for alcoholism, helps me see now that his life was spiraling in ways that he just could not control. And so maybe you're dealing with a family member, or maybe even a parent that struggles with drugs and alcohol. What I need you to know is that you gotta find a way to forgive them, because it's not easy, one, to be an addict, but two, it's not easy to get off. Like, I commend the people who were able to move past that experience, right? I commend the people who were able to fix their lives after they may have had some destructive moments. But for me in that moment, I can honestly tell you, like, I had no forgiveness. And that put a huge strain on me and my father's relationship that we were never, ever able to figure out, because he ended up passing away. And so I need you to know first, right, before you start telling your story, to really address or be the pathway to somebody else's success that might be going through that, I need you to first go to therapy, right? I see this all the time from people. I mean, we're in the social media era, right? So you see the podcasters that do relationships, and they are all like, yeah, I'm newly divorced, but you out here giving advice on relationships. Right? Like, I'm not here to say how long a person heals and how long it takes to a person heal, but I know that we are not oftentimes ready to share, right? We need help. And so make sure you're getting that help. And then the second thing is to make sure that you're sharing the learning lessons of those moments, because that's what people want to get out of it. Is what did you learn? What did you gain? How did you push forward? Right? Those are the things that's going to help not just you find that forgiveness that you need, but others also find that forgiveness that they are looking for, that they desire. And so make sure that you do those two things. So I'm looking at my notes here. So here's some things of why sharing your story matters, right? One, it helps you build resilience. Like for us, for anybody, we need resilience to move through any hardship. What you need to know is that you got greater coming later, right? That's what resilience essentially is. It helps you see that, like, even though things might be hard now, it's not going to last forever. Resilience helps you do that. And so you're going to need that, right? But also you're going to need something that inspires you. Like when you have the hardship, what I want you to do is to find something that motivates you, that makes you feel valued, that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel cared for. It could be something or someone. I'll be honest in saying that when I was going through my hardships after my brother was murdered, and I was 13, going on 14, going into high school, depressed, grieving, confused, angry, the thing that saved me, the thing that helped me was community. I joined sports clubs. I joined student organizations. I helped plan events for the school. Anything that I can do to keep my mind off my grief and my depression, I was involved in, y'all. And I'll be honest, like I helped so many people throughout my time in high school that I won class most school spirited. Right? I won not just that, but I also won the most likely to help award because I was so involved. I wanted to support everybody. And it's kind of weird because now that you realize, I look back on it and I was in support of everybody because I was just looking for support. And I didn't know how to articulate that. And maybe you're in a place where you're like, dang, I need help. Maybe you're the strong friend, right? Maybe you're the person that's like, dang, you're always uplifting people and you're just wondering who's going to uplift you. And so this is why you're here. This is why I'm here. I'm only a message away. I want to be there for you. Right? Second thing, one of the things that you also need to know about sharing your story is that it's not just transformative for you. It's transformative for your audience. Right? It's not just transformative for your audience. It's transformative for you. Right? Like, it's moments like that help you see how strong you really are. Like the moments where you can really sit and tell your truth. The moments where you feel like you mustered up the courage to be authentic, to be real, to be honest. Of course, with the utmost of integrity. Those are the moments that let you know what you're made of. Those are the moments that let you know how much guts you got. Like, I've been speaking for a long time. And it wasn't until last summer that I started telling people about not graduating from middle school. It wasn't until last summer that I started telling people that I was grieving, that I was depressed. And some of that depression lasted all the way in through college. Like, I remember having those moments just randomly driving. And I'll think of my brother and break out into tears. Like, those are the moments that people never heard about, that people never knew about. I always presented as if I had it all together. And what that did was it made people believe that I didn't need anything or anybody. I put on a facade. And I don't need you to do that. I don't want you to do that. Because what I know, now is that I stalled my development. What I know now is that I stalled my growth because I was unwilling to go deeper into the things that I have been experiencing in here and in here. And so I need you to know that we are all in this thing together. It might not be easy, it's not supposed to be. But if you are truly believing that you are the leader that you think you are and that you say you are, then this is an opportunity for you to show how strong of a leader you really are. And so here's some examples that I want to give you to think about how you can share your story and how your story can change the lives of others, right? And so let's say you're struggling with some academics, right? You have a student who is not getting it in a subject, but they muster up the courage to be able to ask the teacher for support, for some tutoring help, and they first was struggling, but then they get a passing grade. Maybe even they get a B or an A or an A minus in the class. Now that story go from struggling and feeling defeated to triumph and victory because all you did was reach out for help. And oftentimes what we don't realize is that just the simplest of story like that can give people the courage to say, dang, I am struggling with a subject in school and I do need some help. Maybe I can be like them, right? Maybe I can find the victory if I just use my voice, right? My grandma used to always say, a closed mouth don't get fed. My grandma always said that, a closed mouth don't get fed. And so for you, if you want that A, if you want that B, if you want that passing grade, if you want to increase your GPA, the first thing you got to do is tell somebody that can help you. All right. Second thing, let's say you're a first generation college student navigating the struggles of financial aid, not guidance, registration, struggling with imposter syndrome, like literally not feeling like you're supposed to be there. And you find a mentor. You find somebody that can give you the step-by-step tools to be able to succeed in college because you don't have anybody in your circle that you can go to be able to help you do that. Now this story is now empowering other first-generation college students to seek support, to find the systems in the institution that are specifically designated for them so that they can get the help that they need to succeed, right? Like just the simple telling the story about being a first-generation college student like myself. And I'm the first generation college student that had mentors and did not listen. And that caused me to get a degree that I never used professionally. And I went on a national search for jobs and didn't get a single interview. I applied to almost 100 jobs, y'all, and did not get one interview. And that's because as a first generation college student, my mindset was, I get a degree, I get a job. It's that simple, right? Get the degree, you get the job. What I did not know is that you need internships, you need externships, you need networking, you need to go to conferences, you need to shadow, you need to build connections with your faculty and their networks. You need to be able to support or show that you are a value add by knowing your gifts and talents. I knew none of those things. And so, hence I have a criminal justice degree, never used it one day. Right? And then let's talk about managing the challenges of mental health. And so let's say you're a student who's dealing with anxiety and it's impacting your schoolwork, right? You started going to therapy, started practicing self-care, started getting together systems that help your mind work, function in the ways that you need it. And now you're succeeding academically. This could be a story of a struggling student dealing with mental health that prioritize their well-being, their self-care, the things that make them, the things that made them whole. And now you're inspiring other students, other staff, other faculty, other adults to find the thing that makes them feel whole, the thing that gives them self-care, the thing that makes them feel like my life is worth it because I woke up today. Like, I need you to find that thing. Like, again, I don't know if you're struggling academically. I don't know if you're a first generation college student, or you're the first student in your family to get the type of grades that you get, or have the athleticism that you have to get a scholarship to go to college. Right? I don't know where you are in your mental health journey or whatnot, but what I do know is that we all have stories of hardship and overcoming. And those stories need to be told, not only so that people can know what we are dealing with, so that people who love us can see our weaknesses and help us address it. It's also so that we can be the pathway to somebody else's success, just like I'm the pathway for many of my students' success. It's important. It's critical. And so I'm going to wrap this up, right, with a couple of tips that I want to share with you to help you share the importance, or help you understand the importance of sharing your story. So the first thing is, I want you to reflect on your journey. Like, what are the things that shaped who you are today? Like, I can honestly say there are some hardships for sure that shaped me. Parents divorced, seeing domestic violence, brothers. I've had 2 brothers murdered, and I've had a sister pass away. So 3 siblings. And those things shaped me for sure. But I can also say, seeing the strength of my mother through all the hardships, seeing her bounce back from practically losing it all to giving me a very stable home where I had everything that I needed, right? I can talk about being a college student and being confused, being depressed, being anxious, not knowing what the answers. Or I can also talk about all the people who stood in my corner in the time that I was confused and depressed. Talk about my friends, my best friends, Jean, Jamon, right? My circle of friends. I can even talk about some of the people who really played a huge role in my college career being amazing, right? Like the Fred Mooney's, the Damon Arnolds of the world, right? Tequila Gary Lynn's and all those folks, right? The people who really pulled me to the side and said, like, no, like, I believe higher education is the journey for you. I can talk about denying all those people, right? Telling them that I'm not in it for higher education at all. And then coming back and telling them, wow, now I'm a faculty member. Right? Like, I can come back to those moments and say, yes, I have learned, I have transitioned. Next thing I want you to know is, like, understand the lesson of your story. Like, I got so many lessons from my story. You know, a delay is not a denial. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Of course, a closed mouth don't get fed. You show me your friends, I'll tell you your future. Because in a time in high school where I was hanging out with people who were not necessarily doing the most positive things, and I had some people who were going to college. And so I chose to hang out and dive deeper into the relationships with the people who was going to college. Right? Like, I can think about, what other lessons, right? I can learn from my journey, right? Like, you're not a failure until you quit. And so, yeah, I didn't get the job after graduation. Yeah, I didn't go into the field where I studied and spent $60,000 to get a degree. But that wasn't the pathway for me, right? That's protection from God, that I was meant to go and to work into a field that actually had a little bit more inspiration and motivation in it. I wouldn't be a speaker. I wouldn't be a higher education speaker. I wouldn't have worked with 3,000 students. I've graduated over 1,000 students in leadership studies in 2 institutions. right? Like, I've been able to do some amazing things because I learned the lessons from my stories, right? Share authentically with purpose. One of the things that I can say is like, I'm thankful for the friends that I have because they allow me to practice sharing these stories. They give me the words that I need to be able to make sure I'm getting my point across, or asking me questions in ways that are not demonizing me, not polarizing me, not making me pull myself away, right? Oh, I got you, Pratt. I got you. Thankful for you. Thank you for listening. Your story is your gift, right? From your story is your gift to be able to give to others, to help them see that it's more to life than worrying about your hurt. And I want to make sure that you get that, right? You get that message. And then the last thing I need you to know, don't be ashamed of your journey. Like, don't be ashamed of it. It was meant for you, crafted for you specifically. And also, nobody's perfect. Like, I'm not perfect. Oh, and it's easy to come down on yourself and think about all the times that you were imperfect. It's easy to think about all the people that you feel like you could have had a better relationship with, or you could have treated better, or you could have had more understanding for. It's easy to do that, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Right? What does get you places is thinking about all the people that you've impacted positively. All the people that feel like, that said to you, wow, because you challenge me, you open me up, you disarm me, you make me feel strong, you make me feel capable, you make me feel worthy. Focusing on those people will always get you farther. And so tonight I challenge you to take one step forward and share your journey, right? And think about who can benefit from learning the lessons that you will share from your stories, from your hardship. Think about how you can inspire others. Think about how you can get others to see themselves in ways that they never see themselves. Think about how you can empower others to believe in their magic, in their gifts, in their talents. And then share them with me in the comments, right? As you go out into the world and do this in the future, share this with, folks, right? And if you want to watch the replay, of course, it will be shared on YouTube. And so I hope to see you again next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time, for another Monday Momentum, where I share a good word with you to start your week off right. Today, we talked about sharing your story and the importance of sharing your stories and the lessons that you learned. Of course, as always, keep doing the good work.